The city isn't just loud tonight, it's screaming. A human storm has arrived at the gates, a relentless tide of anger, frustration, and revolutionary fervor. November 4th, 1979. Tehran, Iran. Inside the walls of the United States Embassy compound, the routine of diplomacy is shattering in real time. Look out the windows. It's not just a protest anymore, it's an invasion. They're scaling the walls, tearing down the fence, overwhelming the guards. Inside, the air is thick with desperation. The sharp scent of burning paper, the grinding roar of shredders. Every diplomat, every staff member is caught in a frantic final act of defense, destroying everything sensitive. Codebooks, confidential files, contact lists, the lifeblood of intelligence and diplomacy, are being fed into machines, thrown into fires, their secrets turning to ash and confetti. It's a race against a clock that's just hit zero. Because the mob is inside now. The sanctuary has been breached. The sound shifts from the distant roar to the terrifying reality of footsteps in the halls, angry voices, the unavoidable confrontation. Most of the Americans inside are quickly found, quickly rounded up, their freedom extinguished in an instant. The world will know them as hostages. Their plight will dominate headlines for over a year. But in this moment of overwhelming chaos, in the terrifying seconds as the compound falls, something else is happening. A small group, navigating the panic and the sheer physical breach, finds an unexpected seam in the chaos. They are just 6 individuals, positioned slightly apart from the main buildings, seeing the inevitable and making a split-second, life-altering decision. They turn away from the center of the storm. They seek an exit that doesn't lead to captivity. They slip away, swallowed by the pandemonium, becoming ghosts in a city that is actively hunting Americans. This is their story. A story of impossible odds, extraordinary courage, and a rescue plan so audacious, so utterly unbelievable, that it required Hollywood magic and genuine spycraft to pull it off. This is the true story of Operation Argo.
Welcome to Whispers Declassified. Every Sunday we pull back the curtain on declassified archives and reveal the clandestine operations that powerful institutions never wanted you to know about.
They are Robert Anders, Cora Lijek, Mark Lijek, Joseph Stafford, Kathleen Stafford, and Lee Schatz. As the embassy gates buckled and the revolutionary students poured onto the grounds, these 6 found themselves on the periphery. Perhaps they were in a different office building, or in the residential area, or simply reacting faster than others to the unfolding disaster. Their exact movements in those frantic moments are a blur of terror and instinct. They didn't have a plan, only the primal urge to survive and escape the immediate capture. Their first, temporary refuge was found at the apartment of a colleague, Barry Rosen, who happened to be off compound that morning. But Rosen was later found and taken hostage, leaving the 6 exposed once more. Their lifeline came through another American diplomat, Joe Cicipio, who was also off compound. He reached out to his Canadian counterparts, and the Canadians, without hesitation, rose to the occasion with incredible bravery and humanitarian spirit. The 6 fugitives were moved, discreetly, urgently, first to the home of Canadian diplomat John Sheardown and his wife Zena. Imagine that knock on the door. The unexpected arrival of terrified, desperate Americans needing shelter in a city on fire. The Sheardowns didn't hesitate. Their act of taking them in was one of immense courage, placing themselves in grave danger should the fugitives be discovered under their roof. For a few nights, the Sheardown residence was a tense, secret sanctuary, but harboring 6 people long-term, especially while the city was being scoured, was a risk that couldn't be sustained indefinitely. A more secure diplomatic location was needed. From the Sheerdowns, the six were moved to the official residence of the Canadian ambassador to Iran, Ken Taylor. This stately home, normally a center of diplomatic life, became their gilded cage. Here, they would spend the next 3 months. 3 months of living in constant fear, confined largely to the house, unable to venture outside freely. Their days were a monotonous cycle of tension and waiting. They read books, played games, talked quietly, always aware that a single mistake could reveal their presence. The curtains remained closed. They had to be careful about when lights were on, who could see them, and every conversation was held in hushed tones. The psychological strain of this hidden existence, coupled with the knowledge that their colleagues were being held hostage, was enormous. Meanwhile, Ambassador Ken Taylor and his staff were performing a balancing act of extraordinary difficulty. They were maintaining their public diplomatic roles while secretly harboring American fugitives. This placed them in immense personal and professional peril. If the Iranian authorities discovered their actions, it could trigger a severe international incident, potentially leading to their own arrest, imprisonment, or worse. The Canadian government was fully aware of the situation and provided unwavering support, demonstrating remarkable solidarity and courage. For the United States, the existence of the six presented an agonizing dilemma. Knowing they were safe, thanks to the Canadians, was a relief. But getting them out was an impossible puzzle using conventional methods. Any overt military or diplomatic effort risked the lives of all the hostages. They needed a solution that was discreet, effective, and could somehow bypass the intense scrutiny of the revolutionary regime. They needed something completely outside the established spycraft playbook. The problem landed on the desk of the CIA's Office of Technical Service. This wasn't the glamorous cloak and dagger world of field agents stealing secrets. This office was where problems were solved with ingenuity, technical expertise, and a knack for creating covers and identities. And their lead expert in disguise and exfiltration was Tony Mendez. Mendez was known for his ability to create believable false identities, to make people look like someone they weren't, and to devise ingenious ways to get them in and out of difficult situations. But this problem was on a different scale. 6 people, no established escape route, stuck in the hostile capital of a nation in the throes of revolution, with the world watching. Conventional options were analyzed and discarded one by one. Trying to smuggle them out in diplomatic pouches, too risky, too bulky. Trying to drive them to a border, too many checkpoints, too visible. A covert military snatch team, impossible without triggering a war and dooming the other hostages. Every standard approach hit a dead end. They needed a reason for Westerners to be in Tehran that wasn't political, wasn't journalistic, wasn't espionage related. A reason that would make them seem mundane, even slightly eccentric, but ultimately harmless to the revolutionary cause. And amidst the brainstorming, an idea emerged. An idea so far-fetched, so bizarre, that it initially met with stunned silence, followed by disbelief. An idea born from a world of fantasy, spectacle, and make-believe, Hollywood. The idea was simple, on the surface. Create a fake movie production. Use it as a cover story to explain why 6 Westerners were in Iran. But to make it believable, it had to be more than just a flimsy excuse. It had to have substance. It had to look real. They chose a science fiction script already making the rounds in Hollywood, titled Argo, a cosmic fantasy dismissed by studios as unfilmable, making it perfect because no one would seriously be looking for its production to actually happen. A sci-fi story also provided a plausible reason for scouting exotic or alien-looking landscapes. Landscapes that could, with some imagination, be found in parts of Iran. the CIA didn't just claim a movie was being made, they built the entire illusion from the ground up. A fully functional, fake production company was created. Studio 6 Productions, named covertly in honor of the 6 diplomats they aimed to rescue. They rented a real office in Hollywood, set up phone lines, created bank accounts, and printed realistic business cards and letterhead. To further sell the lie to the outside world, they took out advertisements in major Hollywood trade publications like Variety and The Hollywood Reporter, announcing the formation of Studio 6 Productions and the upcoming production of Argo, seeking cast and crew. They even staged a small fake launch party at the Studio 6 office, inviting genuine Hollywood contacts who were completely unaware they were attending a CIA front operation. This was the level of detail required. The cover story had to be robust enough that if anyone, in Iran or elsewhere, made a cursory check, the basic facts would appear legitimate. The foundation of their lie was meticulously constructed in the heart of the American film industry. With the cover story established, it was time for the most dangerous phase, bringing the operation to Tehran. Tony Mendez, under his alias Kevin Harkins, the producer, traveled to Iran. Getting into the country was the first hurdle, navigating Revolutionary Guards and immigration officials with his forged documents and rehearsed persona. He met secretly with Ambassador Ken Taylor and the 6 Americans at the ambassador's residence. Imagine that meeting. The architect of their potential salvation, meeting the people whose lives depended entirely on his creation. Mendez's task was now to rapidly transform these diplomats, who had been living in quiet terror for months, into believable film crew members in just a few short days. The training was intense and urgent. The 6 were given their new identities: screenwriters, an art director, a cinematographer, an assistant producer, a production assistant. They were given their detailed backstories, fake resumes, and rehearsed endlessly on the specifics of their supposed film jobs and how they related to the Argo production. Mendez grilled them, poking holes in their stories, preparing them for the kind of questions they might face from suspicious officials. Their ability to act, to embody these new identities flawlessly under pressure, was paramount. Their lives quite literally depended on their performance. Adding another layer of credibility to their cover, they conducted fake location scouting missions around Tehran. This meant leaving the relative safety of the ambassador's residence and venturing out into the streets of a revolutionary city. Under the guise of looking for film backdrops, they visited potential sites, openly taking photos, discussing shots, all while acutely aware that every person they passed could be watching them, judging them as suspicious Westerners. Every interaction, every checkpoint, every delay caused by a military patrol sent jolts of anxiety through the group. These scouting trips were terrifying performances staged on the real streets of Tehran. Simultaneously, they had to secure their exit path. This involved obtaining genuine exit visas from the Iranian authorities, presenting their fake credentials to the Ministry of Culture and Islamic Guidance, an arm of the very government that was holding their colleagues hostage. Mendez's expertise in forgery was crucial here, creating documents that looked authentic enough to pass muster, but using them required immense nerve. The risk of a document being flagged, a question leading to a deeper check, was constant. The day arrived, January 28, 1980. The 6 filmmakers and producer Kevin Harkins, Tony Mendez, made their way to Mehrabad International Airport. This was the final and most terrifying test of the cover story. Airports are controlled environments filled with officials whose job is to identify people who don't belong. And in revolutionary Iran, those officials were likely to be vigilant, suspicious, and unpredictable. The process was agonizingly slow. They had to check in for their flight to Zurich, go through security, and face immigration control. Each step was a hurdle. At immigration, they presented their Canadian passports, their fake identities, their carefully acquired exit visas. The officials scrutinized their documents, their faces. Questions were asked about their time in Iran, the film they were making, why they were leaving now. They had to maintain perfect composure, no hesitation, no signs of fear. Their stories had to be consistent, their demeanor convincing. Every moment an official paused, every time they looked up from a document into their eyes, felt like an eternity. Was this the moment the forgery was spotted? Was this the moment the lie unraveled? There were moments of intense scrutiny, calls made to verify details, delays that stretched their nerves to the breaking point. The tension wasn't in a physical chase, but in the quiet, bureaucratic power of a stamp, a signature, a single question that could expose everything. They were acting for their lives, and the audience was a stern-faced immigration officer with the power to detain them. Finally, after navigating the layers of security and bureaucracy, they were allowed to proceed to the gate. Boarding the plane felt like stepping into another world, but even then, they weren't truly safe. Not until the aircraft was sealed and in motion. The plane taxied onto the runway, the engines roaring to life. As the aircraft lifted off from Mehrabad and climbed into the sky, leaving the volatile ground behind, the crushing weight of months of fear and deception began to lift. As the plane cleared Iranian airspace, a quiet, profound wave of relief washed over the 7 passengers. They had made it. Operation Argo, the Hollywood heist that wasn't a heist, was a success. Upon their return to the United States, the story of the Canadian Six and the extraordinary operation that rescued them remained classified. This secrecy was vital for several reasons: to protect the unconventional methods used, keeping them available for future intelligence operations, and most importantly, to protect the Canadian diplomats, particularly Ambassador Ken Taylor and the Canadian government, whose crucial role in sheltering the Americans put them at risk of retaliation from Iran. For years, the full extent of Canadian assistance was not widely known, even intentionally downplayed initially to maintain the cover. Ambassador Taylor and his staff were heroes, but their heroism had to remain largely unacknowledged publicly for their own safety and diplomatic reasons. Tony Mendez, the mastermind behind the cover story, also returned to the shadows of the CIA. His incredible feat of ingenuity earned him recognition, but the details of the operation and his specific role remained highly classified. He was awarded the Intelligence Star for Valor, but the citation detailing his work on Argo was kept secret until 1997, when the operation was finally declassified after nearly 2 decades. When the story did eventually emerge into the public eye, it captured the imagination, eventually leading to the popular film Argo. While the movie brought widespread attention to this remarkable event, it, like many dramatizations, took significant liberties with the historical details, often for increased tension or narrative simplicity. The true history involves even deeper collaboration with Canada, and perhaps less cinematic, but equally terrifying bureaucratic hurdles at the airport. The true story of Operation Argo is a powerful testament to the human capacity for courage, adaptability, and creative problem-solving in the face of seemingly impossible odds. It highlights the quiet bravery of diplomats and intelligence officers working behind the scenes, and the essential role played by allies in moments of crisis. It proved that sometimes the most effective weapon is not force, but a carefully constructed illusion. It was a real-life spy story that truly was stranger and perhaps more fascinating than fiction. If you found this deep dive into a real-life historical escape compelling and want to explore more stories of espionage, political intrigue, and hidden history, Make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next video. Share your thoughts and questions in the comments section below. I read them all and appreciate your input. Thanks for watching.